Welcome to the 6 p.m. news in the English language from Equinox Television. In our major stories, a young woman has been accused of killing her infant newborn son in the capital city of the northwest region of Bamenda. And beyond the national boundaries of Cameroon, a government deal has been met between the Democratic Republic of Congo and the M23 rebels, perhaps again or finally at last. We'll have those stories in more details in just a moment. Beginning with our major stories first, residents of the Old Town quarter of Bamenda were recently in an uproar after a young woman identified as Kalisa Mbong delivered an infant boy in her single-room home alone. The young woman, currently being detained by the local law enforcement officials, has been accused of killing her child. Jack Ekwe Kinge gives us more information, but we do have to warn you, the nature of these images may be mildly graphic.
It was another horrible scene last Tuesday morning in the Old Town neighborhood in Bamenda as neighbors recount they heard a distress cry of a newborn baby from Kalisa's house. They called several times, but she did not reply. As such, they alerted her aunt, who too is a resident of Old Town. Upon her arrival, the door was still firmly locked, but they forced their way into the house only to find Kalisa with her dead baby lying on the floor. The landlord was alerted, who later alerted the police. When confronted, Kalisa claims she had delivered the baby normally, then the baby fell and died. She disclosed that the author of the pregnancy had refused responsibility for it, and as such, she was unable to take care of the baby. According to the commissioner of the Bamenda Central Police Station, the girl had been taken to the hospital for proper medical checkup before being handed back to the police to answer questions of alleged infanticide.
We want to continue with our stories in the northwest region, where the dead body of a young woman identified as Kumta Rita Akwi was discovered in her room in the Aziri Old Church quarter of Bamenda by neighbors after suffering an epileptic attack. Jack Ekwe Kinge keeps us in the northwest region with this story.
It was in a total dismay when the neighbors of Kumta Rita Akwi got up in the morning to be faced with news of her death. Neighbors testify that the young computer secretary student did not show any sign of a malaise on the eve.
I lastly saw her on the eve. She was eating with other neighbors. I went out this morning. On going back, I saw people getting into the compound. When I asked, they told me they have tried to wake Akwi up, but got no response from her. We then called the army rescue team, who came and broke her door and discovered that she was dead.
Despite no signs of a malaise, the late Kumta Rita was all the same a patient.
She was an epileptic patient. She often had crises. I want to believe she had an attack in the night. That is what must have caused her death.
Her death was confirmed by elements of the Bamenda Army Rescue Unit who came at the scene, but the official cause of the death of Kumta Rita is still being awaited. Meanwhile, the body has been put in the mortuary.
We now return to the littoral region, where approximately 300 gas bottles were recently confiscated by a control team from the Littoral Regional Delegation of Mines and Industries. The generic brand of gas is said to have been illegally imported to Cameroon and not authorized for distribution. We have this report now from Pamela Ndukong. Motioning right ahead, we do want to continue with some of our stories here in the littoral region, where the Douala 3 Municipal Council has adopted its 2014 fiscal budget set at 2.4 billion CFA francs. The mayor of Douala 3 Council, Job Theophile, has defended the amount of the budget, saying that it will be used to complete a number of development projects. Hansen Fortin-Chanyi gives us more information.
The 2014 budget for the Douala 3 municipality thus stands at a whopping sum of over 2,400 million francs CFA, was unanimously voted during the first budgetary session by 58 councillors, 6 deputy mayors, and Mayor Job Theophile Kwapnang. The budget that is expected to cover some 21 major projects has witnessed an increase of over 352 million francs CFE from that of 2013, with a 14.38%. The 2013 budget, it should be noted, stood at slightly over 2 billion. The new team at the Douala 3 Council, headed by Job Tofik Kwapnang, says major priorities will be to improve on education, health, fight against urban disorder, modernization of the town, and ensure constant availability of potable water, among others.
Road, after the road, we can see a problem of electricity, education, schools, and after. Yes, because we know Douala 3 is a part of this city which is very, very, very poor in case of road, water, and everything. Now we have to work hard.
While admitting that salaries and benefit of personnel will be reviewed, Mayor Job Tofik Kwapnang says there will be zero tolerance to laziness. To Eli Besinga, representative of SDO for Uri, the litany of projects enlisted by Mayor and Technical Director could only be realized if all hands are put on deck. He urged the councillors to be responsible in carrying out their functions and instructed the council to fight against urban disorder in Dokoti, as well as ensure evacuation of abandoned corpses in neighborhoods.
Without wanting to get too much ahead of ourselves, we do want to return to the report in which we pointed out some 300 domestic gas bottles were recently confiscated here in Douala by the Ministry and Regional Delegation of Mines and Industries. We have Pamela Ndukong's report now online.
The strange colored domestic gas bottles, of about 300 in number, are illegally imported into the country. They don't belong to neither domestic gas marketers nor accredited importers. The Delegation for Mines and Industries was hinted of the presence of irregular gas bottles in the city of Douala. A team was quickly dispatched. They were accompanied by the gendarmerie. The owner of the consignment argued he was not aware that certain rules had to be observed. Besides, the bottles are on transit to neighboring Chad.
I don't know that it's not, I don't have right to bring it. Just bring it like this to send it. But now I know that I can lose it. I don't know even my situation now.
The bottles were packed in the vehicle to be taken to the delegation for further investigation of the origin of the gas bottles. It's been a couple of weeks that the Delegation of Mines and Industries in Douala is calling on domestic gas dealers to respect prescribed norms for sales of cooking gas, which most dealers seldom observe. Though very much aware that the normal domestic gas weighs 12 kilograms, the weight must be printed on the gas bottle, likewise the type of gas.
We want to motion now over to the Southwest region, where in ongoing evolutions to the trials of university students who were involved in the February, May, and 2013 strikes, 2 recently were sentenced by the Boya Court of First Instance to 18 months in prisons with a 70 million CFA franc fine to pay each. We have this report sent in by Derek Jatto.
These detained students from the University of Boya are here at the Boya Court of First Instance, and today their final verdict will be passed down. Barrister Keme Nicholas is the lead defense counsel.
The students were charged like others before for destruction of properties of the University of Boya. They were not arrested as at that time when others were in court. So they were later arrested, and that's why their trial came behind, and their judgment will only be delivered today. The first 2 out of the 5 were discharged. So the 3 of them went to the end of the trial. The 2 that were sentenced and convicted to serve 18 months imprisonment and pay a fine of over 70 million francs to the University of Boya.
And today, Ayuk Vitalis has been discharged and acquitted on the grounds that the prosecution had failed to establish a prima facie case against him. And these 2 students were guilty. It should be recalled that out of the 31 students arrested during the February sit and the May 15, 2013 strikes on the campus of the University of Boya, 5 students are in prison. 5 were given suspended sentences. 4 students paid over 1 million francs CFA in exchange of their freedom, and 16 students were discharged and acquitted. These Buea University students have been in detention for over 7 months, and they have appeared before the judge in court for over 60 times.
We now want to start looking at our foreign news, noting that since the exhumation of the body of the former South African President Nelson Mandela last Wednesday, November 5th, well-wishers and influential persons alike have been paying their last respects to the anti-apartheid activist in Pretoria. Frans Venkart gives us an image of Mandela's final moments before his burial on Sunday, December 15th.
Waiting in line for a chance to say goodbye to their beloved Madiba. Nelson Mandela's body will be lying in state for 3 days at the Union Buildings in Pretoria, where he was inaugurated as the country's first black president 19 years ago. After waiting for hours to pay their respects, mourners had mixed feelings about the experience.
I feel great because I told myself I'm not going back without seeing him.
I'm feeling very sad, very sad. I'm emotional, but I can't take it out because he was a strong man.
I only saw him when he came out, then I'm seeing him today when he's gone. So it's so sad. It has hit home today that he really is gone.
Mandela's widow, his ex-wife, children and grandchildren were the first to attend the viewing, along with South African President Jacob Zuma. They were followed by celebrities as well as world leaders past and present, including South Africa's last white president, F.W. de Klerk, who shared the Nobel Peace Prize with Mandela for ending the apartheid.
My thoughts now is I hope that his focus on lasting reconciliation will live and will bloom in South Africa.
Earlier, South Africans lined the streets of Pretoria to watch as the hearse was escorted by a motorcade to the Union Buildings amphitheater, which has been renamed after Nelson Mandela. The procession and the viewing will be repeated for the next 2 days before Mandela's body is transported to his childhood home of Kunu, where he will be buried on Sunday.
Still looking at that report concerning Nelson Mandela, on special assignment in South Africa is Eric Kwamo, who is currently in Pretoria, following up the burial program for the former South African President Nelson Mandela. In the following report, Eric Kwamo surveys the atmosphere at Nelson Mandela's home, where he passed away on November 5th.
Just behind me is Nelson Mandela's home of Auckland in South Africa. This is where he died on the 5th of December 2013. And since then, South Africans are mourning, as you can see on these images. They are coming here from all over the country with flowers and, of course, to pay the last tribute to the former president of South Africa. And as we are speaking, the man you have on image is the former Zambian president. He has just arrived here. And you can appreciate the mobilization of South Africans who appreciate the level of cordial relationship that existed between Nelson Mandela and, of course, the former Zambian president. You remember, South African history teaches us that during the apartheid regime, he opened the doors to South Africans who were to go on asylum. So I think this is one of the greatest moments South Africans are living now, and as you can see, the mobilization remains great, though the corpse of Nelson Mandela is not here.
We do want to come now to our final story, which brings us to the end of this report, noting that the Democratic Republic of Congo has signed a peace accord with the M23 rebels. The announcement came forth on Thursday, confirming the group's dissolution a month after it's ended its 18-month insurgency against the government. We have more information from Frans Venkart.
As Congolese President Joseph Kabila looks on, the two sides in a bitter conflict put pen to paper on a long-awaited agreement, each signing their own declarations. Overseen by regional leaders, including Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, the agreement marks the culmination of weeks of wrangling.
Today, the Congolese government and M23 have respectively signed declarations reflecting the consensus reached during the Kampala dialogue on steps necessary to end the armed activities of the M23.
The M23 rebels, the latest in a line of Tutsi-led insurgents, laid down their weapons at the start of November after an incisive offensive by Congo's army, backed by the UN, prompting President Kabila to stage a triumphant walkabout in Goma, previously an M23 stronghold. The rebels had been operating in the mineral-rich east of the country since April last year, displacing at least 800,000 people from their homes. But peace talks, hosted by Uganda in Kampala, failed to bear fruit. Even when the rebels signalled their readiness to sign a deal after last month's defeat, Congo pulled back, wanting to reflect its victory. On Thursday, the government spokesman underlined this agreement was not a peace deal.
There is no document signed by the government and rebels. We really refused that way of working.
Under the terms of each declaration, the M23 will end its campaign and be disarmed, while the government will help reintegrate rebel fighters back into society. However, for those accused of war crimes, there will be no amnesty.
And that report from our foreign page brings us to the end of this 6 p.m. edition of the news at Equinox Television in the English language. As our team will continue to bring you more updates, we bid you to stay tuned to our subsequent programs. Thank you and good evening.